Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be building a car for the Diecast Mafia Gaslands Racer challenge. For this challenge you have to build a Gaslands car with no weapons. As you can see, I decided to use a Hotwheels Aristo for this. Here's the car completely disassembled. So to start with, I decided I want to remove this front fuel tank. I'm just going to use my dual saw to cut that off. Next, I decided I want to remove this engine at the back because I was going to put the engine in the front. Then glued the interior piece to the base plate. Go through my bits box, I found this old engine from a previous build. And I glued this in front, where the tank used to be. And then add the body on top just to make sure and then test fit the body to make sure everything lines up alright. Then glue the front splitter to the metal body. Next I want to change the front wheels, but first I need to cut out a section of the base plate so I could make room for a new axle. For the front axle I use a piece of styrene tubing and just glued this in place. Afterwards I then grabbed these wheels from our bits box, which are from the North Star Military Figures Implements of Carnage sprue, which is a good source of Gaslands parts. I also cut a piece of styrene rod just to act as the axle and then glued one of the wheels to it. I then grabbed these Council Design 16mm fatty dually wheels, tyre 4, rim 8. I'm also going to use this Council Design axle for the rear axle. So when I was test fitting the axle I realised this piece here at the back needs to go, so I'm just going to cut this little chunk out at the back of the interior piece so I can glue the rear axle in place. Moving on, I add some screws to the axles because these make great suspension stretch as long as you cover up the top bit. Next I set the full hole in the roof, which was from the rear engine's air scoop. For this I used a piece of masking tape just to cover the top of the hole, and then from the other side I filled it in with some green stuff. It was a bit too difficult to fill in with the tool, so in the end I just reused my hand and just got it all over my fingers instead, so yeah, a bit of clean up work to do after this. This still takes some time to set, and it wasn't the smoothest of jobs, but it was kind of just get it done. Following this I go through my drivers and pick out this World War II SES Desert Rat, which kind of inspires the paint job later on. So to make him fit I cut off his legs at first and then do a quick little test and realise I could remove a piece of the clothing at the back and just constantly trimming and test fitting to make sure he fits in. Next I move on to building a tombstone for the rear. Since this vehicle is not really going to be that armoured, it's just going to be more focused on racing. I figured it needed a bit of armour at the back to stop any attacks from behind. For this I just sketched out the design on a piece of styrene sheet and then just cut it out with my hobby knife. Once I have both pieces cut out, I then bend them in shape and glue them together. And this is where I made a mistake. I actually glued this to the body whilst the whole thing is assembled, and it becomes a bit of a nightmare to try and disassemble it to paint. So in the end I ended up breaking this and then just gluing it to the top of the rear suspension struts. And finally I added some styrene tubing at the back for the exhausts. Moving on to the painting, taking inspiration from the driver, I decided to paint this up in the same colours as the World War II Desert Rats, which is just sandy colours. For this I'm using Revell Aquacolor Yellow, and it takes a few coats. All the colours from here on out will be Revell Aquacolor. So next I use some Revell Matte Black and paint the wheels. And then move on to the base plate and interior. Now originally I was going to paint it the same as the body, but it didn't really look that right, so I went over the top of it with some Revell Rust. And then stippled on some Revell Metallic Silver to give it that really nice rust effect. Going back to the body, I dry brushed on some metallic steel, again Revell colours. I didn't want the body to be rusty, I wanted it to be chipped like it's been through something like a sandstorm, but the paint's still on there and it's not quite starting to rust like the rest of it. So I felt the dry brush on the steel on the body was a bit too much, so I went back over it with a body colour and just stippled on some of the same sandy yellow just to kind of tone it down a bit more. I then used some matte black to paint the seat and steering wheel. Then I also used some Revell Flesh colour to paint the driver. After this I decided to paint the suspension struts rust colour and then just dabble on some a little bit light blue to make them look like they're slowly rusting away. And then finally I just finished the whole thing with just a black wash over the top of everything. And here we are with the final build. I did go back and touch up a few pieces here and just change a few body panel colours just to kind of add a bit more variety to the build. Overall I was quite happy with the way it turned out, although I am thinking it looks more like a Batmobile and I probably should have painted it black, but hey oh. As usual, be a nice little slideshow of some better images at the end. Hope you all enjoyed the build, and I'll see you in the next video.